Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome to this product review on the Finetec Pearl watercolors with the Gansai Tambi Pearl watercolors. Here are the palettes that I'm comparing. I have the Finetec to my left. It has 12 colors in one container. And then I have two containers over here of the Gansai Tambi. The top one is the Pearl watercolors and the bottom are the Starry watercolors. As far as price goes, the Finetec ones, I bought mine at Simon Says Stamp for around $45. I couldn't find them anywhere else actually. The Gansai Tambi are widely available. They're around $20 for each of the palettes, so 40 together with these two. However, on Amazon, I got them for only about $10 per palette. So they're a little bit cheaper if you get them at Amazon, but they're comparable in price if you get them anywhere else. I'm going to open this up here. So regarding the amount of paint you get for the price, you get about half the paint with the Finetec, as you can see. But I'm not sure these are the types of paints that you're going to be using every single day, so I'm not sure you need that much. I've created a sample color palette on both a black cardstock and white cardstock for all of these colors. The samples on the left correspond to their exact location in the container on the Finetec. And then on the right, the top row is the Pearl colors and the bottom row is the set of Starry Gold on both the black and the white. So first let's take a closer look at the black Finetec cardstock. So you can see how gorgeous and vibrant and colorful these paints are on black cardstock. And in fact, they don't even look that pretty in the container. It's not until you get them on the black cardstock that they really start to shine. So as you compare this to the white cardstock, they look terrible on white cardstock. They look like they're basically not made for white cardstock. Some of them you can see the colors, like some of the reds, but for the most part, the black looks really pretty. Now taking a look at the Gansai Tambi sample, the top row are the colored paints and the bottom row are the gold paints. I was really surprised that all of these colors came out white on black cardstock. So these paints were not made for black cardstock. This pink one over here on the top left, I did about 5 layers of paint on here and it started to get a little bit of a tint of pink, but for the most part it was mostly white. The gold set, however, did extremely well on the black cardstock. There are 4 golds and kind of like a copperish and a silver, and they're all absolutely gorgeous on the black cardstock. Now when you take a look at these colors on white cardstock, you see how absolutely beautiful they are. So all of the colors that weren't showing up on the black are showing up on the white beautifully, as well as the gold. So all 12 of these Gansai Tambi Pearl colors work great on white cardstock, as opposed to none of the Finetec really working on the white cardstock. I'm going to start with the black cardstock. I have a number 8 brush and just a jar of water. First, I'm going to compare the colors. So I'm going to use this shining pink color from my Finetec set, and then I'm going to use the first 2 pinks in the Gansai Tambi Pearl set. All of these watercolors are very similar in the way you sort of wake them up to use them. So I put some water on my brush and I'm just brushing. You have to brush quite a bit. At first it's pretty liquidy, but then as you continue to brush the palette, the paint sort of loosens up more and it gets much thicker. So I'm going to apply my first layer here and then I'm just going to let it sit for just a minute. And then I'm going to go back in now that my water has had a chance to sort of soak into my palette and it gets a lot thicker. So I'll take my brush and I'll get a little bit more paint here and then I'm going to put it right on top. You could let it dry in between or you could just put it right on top. You can see how beautiful and pink and opaque these colors are on the black cardstock. Next, I'm going to work on the first pink in this set. Again, just kind of adding some water with my brush, working it around until it gets to a pretty good thickness, and then apply it onto my cardstock. So you can see that it's pretty translucent, so that means you can kind of see through it, so you can see the black underneath. And although it first hits the cardstock in a pink look, it turns white or silvery almost immediately. So I'm going to go ahead and add another coat here, and you can see that it's becoming more opaque, but it's still pretty silvery. And it really doesn't compare at all to the Finetec color to the left of it. I'm actually going to skip that second pink on the Gansai because it pretty much looks the same as that first pink. It's mostly silver. Now I'm going to move on to the golds. There's really only one gold in the Finetec set. It's called Fine Gold. So I'm going to work my brush around here, and I actually put a lot more water than I did before. So I'm just kind of letting it sit for a second and soak in. So anyway, I'm going to apply this now to another petal, and you can see how gorgeous this gold is. Again, really opaque, just like the pink, and it goes on really easy and smooth. There are 4 different golds in this Gansai Tambi set. I'm just going to use the first one and just apply it to my cardstock here. You can see how beautiful it is, and it's pretty comparable in opaqueness to the Finetec. But what I did notice, and I don't know if you can tell on camera, is that the Gansai was much more glittery, more sparkly, I guess if you will, and also more yellow. So it's more of a bright gold, whereas the Finetec was more of a muted gold, I guess I would say. So I'm holding up here to see if you can see it shine a little bit differently, but it's slightly different. I decided to add a second layer of these colors. I'm just going to fast forward it because it's a little bit boring. I'm just doing the same thing I did, except just another layer. And to be honest, it didn't make too much of a difference. It made it a little more opaque, but I prefer the Gansai, the second one, a little bit more than the first one, the Finetec. Just for fun, I decided to use the gold that comes in the main Gansai Tambi set, number 91, on a petal just to see how it compares. So I'm going to color that onto this third petal here, and you can see, as with the other ones, it goes on pretty opaque onto the black cardstock, but it is a little kind of tarnished, I want to say. It's not quite so bright. I decided to add a second layer so that it would be an even comparison, so I'm going to go on top again here. You can see it's just sort of a not very impressive gold. I mean, it's definitely gold, and if you're not picky, then this would totally work for you, but you can see how that middle petal really outshines the other two. So here are the labeled results. You can see them. I'm going to have photos on the blog so you can get close-ups. Now I'm moving on to the white cardstock, and I already talked about how the Finetec really doesn't work very well, but there were a few that looked pretty decent, so I'm going to use this red one here just so we can compare it against the Gansai. You can see as it goes on that it's more of like a burnt orange, brownish red. It's not very pretty at all. Definitely not as pretty as it is on the black cardstock, and not as pretty as it is even on the palette itself. Moving on to the Gansai Tambi, I'm going to use both of these pinks on the white. So I'm going to start with the one to the right first because it's more of a reddish that's closer to the Finetec one I already colored down. It's not as dark as the Finetec color, but it's definitely prettier. It's more of just a light red. When you put a second coat on, it looks even better. So it is a really pretty color. Moving on to the brighter pink. This is an absolutely gorgeous color. It's so beautiful. It's just like a soft pink color with shimmer in it. So this is probably one of my favorites. And then as with the first one, I'm going to put a second layer on here, which makes it thicker, more opaque, and even more beautiful. I'm going to try a little experiment here. I'm going to pull my regular Gansai Tambi set, number 34. It's just a bright red. And I'm also going to pull number 95. It's just a silver color at the bottom near the gold. I'm going to take that red and I'm going to color this petal here, and you can see how amazingly bright this red is. It's really beautiful. So I'm just going to apply that layer across this whole petal, and then I'm going to dip my brush in just some plain water, and I'm kind of dabbing it a little bit on my craft mat here, and I'm just trying to dilute this same exact color, this red, to make it pink. So what I'm trying to do is match the pink from the Gansai Pearl set. It's that third petal that I colored in the previous set. And you can see that just by diluting this really bright red color, I get a really beautiful pink that's very close to the pink from the Pearl set. I'm going to give these two petals a little bit of time to dry, and then I'm going to take this 95 and I'm going to apply it over the two petals. So I had a little bit too much on my brush, but I just kind of dabbed it a little bit onto my craft mat. And then there was a little bit of the red that came up for that second petal, so I put it back into the water of the brush and got some more of that silvery paint. And I was really surprised at how well it added shimmer on top of the existing color. So in essence, I recreated that pearl shimmer color with my basic 36 count set. So I'm going to try this again in blue. I'll color my first petal with the blue from the Gansai Tambi shimmer set, the pearl set, and it comes out really pretty. It's a nice, really beautiful blue. I pulled number 62 from my 36 count set, and you can see I'm just trying to balance enough water to dilute it so that it looks very similar to the color I already put down. And you can see I can match it pretty well just by adding more water. So I'm going to let that dry for a little bit. And then I'll add that same 95 on top. And I would venture to say that this petal seems even more shimmery than the first one. But in any event, they are very, very close. So I had really good results with this experiment. So here is the white recap all labeled. And again, I'll have these photos on my blog so you can get a better look. So in summary, I'd say this pearl set with the colors here by Gansai Tambi, I'm not sure that this is necessarily worth the investment because you can recreate it with the 36 count set pretty easily. Now, if you don't like the two-step process and you like something that's easier, then maybe these colors are for you. Now, the gold ones are fantastic, and I really love how there's all these different shades of gold, and it was really shimmery and glittery and different than either the gold in the Finetec or the Gansai Tambi 36 count. So I would recommend getting this set if you really like gold, and plus they work on white paper. And then finally, if you're interested in being able to color with vibrant colors on black cardstock, then it seems that this is definitely the better product. I've used these watercolors multiple times since I got them, so I'm definitely getting my money's worth. And that concludes the comparison. So I hope you found that helpful, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.